exciting announcement. We now have Brockton Bay Book Club merch. We've got our Brockton Bay Book Club t-shirt, as well as the Brockton Bay's sweatshirt. They look sweet. Hannah designed them, and they're amazing. So if you're interested in that, link will be in the description. And shout out to Hannah for all the sweet designs. Thanks so much for your guys' support, and go check it out. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Take that, you worms. We have arrived at the penultimate arc of this incredible web series. Thank you. Well timed, Michael. Thank you. Welcome back to Dissecting Worm. We are attempting to piece together some semblance of a television show out of all these chapters. And we have arrived. Arc 29. Allan, how are you feeling?
I thought this would tie it all together for me. I thought we would get here and I'd be ready.
Oh, no.
And I find myself with a disturbing lack of notes.
Yeah, it's this is such a great arc because it's a huge information dump of an arc, which is great. We need those, but it's tricky to try to split this up effectively so that you're not just overloading an audience. Like imagine this is as like if a show this was like the second to last episode of the series would be way too much. It would be so much so quickly. And then just end after that would be a little traumatizing. But at the same time, I don't want to change a whole lot. I mean, probably tweaking some of like the satyr stuff and the betrayal and all that. But I mean, the rest of it is just so good. Solid. If anything, it's just seeing more. It's seeing more of like the Case 53s and the irregulars, kind of all of that going on. It's just probably adding to it, if anything. But it's intimidating, for sure.
Yeah. I think this is the first one we are maybe ready to start going back into some of the arcs to plot this direction. And I mean, we all know what happens in the next arc, so we can kind of already plot that way as well. Is there anywhere you'd like to start?
Not particularly any place in particular. I said particular.
Yeah.
Twice. With the exception that I think, and we've sort of hinted at this before, but I think we've danced around some of the like B, C, and D plots that would obviously need to be written into any show. Because we're kind of sticking with the arcs as they go, but definitely something that if we go back and kind of, re-edit and reframe a lot of this, that these arcs would need to be developed. The big one this season would be the irregulars and kind of Weld's team, because their arrival, which is actually when last end of 28. The end of 28 when they assault Cauldron. There's not a lot of prep for that given to the readers, which is fine in context. It's just sort of what's going on. But that's absolutely something you'd want to set up for an audience. How you want to do that is probably a plethora of ways you can, but little things like that we'd certainly need to be plotting throughout the season, if not prior seasons as well.
Yeah. I think we're going to need at least 2 points here. I think, like when we're talking about with the irregulars, I think we split potentially the teams between 2 people. I think ideally Gollum and Taylor would be your 2 people that you follow. I think going all the way back, and we're just going to go off the assumption that we start with arc 26 being our starter, opening, pulling down into Killington. I think it would benefit us to have that our starting point with Taylor and Gollum together. We kind of cut back and forth, but they are generally in the same place. Until we get to them chasing down maybe leads, like trying to chase down Jack. At which point in time, maybe you have them divert, like one of them's fighting Slaughterhouse 9000, the other, Golem is actually chasing down Jack himself. We get to the end, everything happens. From there, I think we do basically everything that isn't directly plot related to everything with Taylor should be leading towards Kepri at this point. I think it's constantly having her run aground of people that won't cooperate, her going to the Cauldron meetings, her dealing with Shadowstalker, all that jazz, and the rest of it be taken up by Golem. Maybe have Golem talk a little bit more with all of the heroes and stuff. And, would probably be, obviously the B plot character.
Yeah.
But then they kind of team back up going into Cauldron to do whatever they have to do. And they split up. Taylor, of course, goes down and eventually finds, maybe deals with satirical and finding Eve and the Doctor, whereas Golem potentially runs into Weld and the Irregulars.
Right. I like that. I do like the idea of making sure that we keep Golem around after everything with Jack. Because, yes, he's present in the story, of course, but he does take a pretty significant backseat to everything else that's going on. Understandable. Yeah. But just kind of one of those things where it's like, there's a great character that we're building up for this big moment. We do want him to stick around in some capacity afterwards, just so that it's satisfying. I was thinking about that with the regulars too. Remind me, because I was reading quickly through a lot of these chapters. Are Neuter and Gregor here part of this group?
I did not see them.
Okay, I didn't either.
And because they are happy with their situation over with Faultline.
I was going to say, I guess they're with Faultline. This is strictly irregulars, Case 53s that are not part of Faultline's crew, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, if we honestly, if we were condensing stuff, we would find a way to combine Faultline's crew with the irregulars in some form.
That would be a fun, that would be a fun thought experiment to put out to fans and see what they thought of that. Because I kind of like that, again, talking about condensing storylines and threads just so that it's a bit easier to track for a much shorter TV series as opposed to a book. I don't think Faultline herself would really care about attacking Cauldron.
Well, if we've talked about making Cauldron responsible for, her sister or something like that.
True.
Or maybe she just has a kind spot in her heart for Case 53s, which seems to be the case. If we made it a personal note, I mean, she does a bunch of research into them. We could see her with the Case 53s on her team, hunting down Cauldron like they were already doing.
That is true. It wouldn't be a big stretch to really make that work. You're right.
They just, they want answers, and a lot of people just want revenge.
You know what? You're kind of winning me over. Yeah, I think actually you probably could make that work pretty easily.
Because that would also be that would be a hard hitting moment. We have a lot of these okay, so here we have a lot of these irregulars that we have barely met. The ones that we really know are Sveta, Weld, Gregor, Neuter. I'm sure there's others that I'm forgetting, but those are the Case 53s that we know.
Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken.
I think that's right. Just for it's like popular named Case 53s. I think that's
We've run into Gully and Gentle Giant before. Like way back when. But they got like 1-2 scenes, maybe, where they say like, I'm not leaving. And that's it.
Right.
So when they do their betrayal, we are, of course, all on, like, all of our people that we root for are all on the side of like, guys, let's not get revenge. But what if, and this doesn't have to be consistent with the character in the story, but what if Neuter or Gregor were not, so forgiving? What if they were part of the irregular group that's like, no, we got to lynch her?
Yeah.
I think that does a little bit better for your, the audience connecting with the other side in this case. You have people to identify with who you've seen before and have followed. If we were expounding on their backstory, that we would have to come up with, obviously, in a longer, where we have them in other seasons as well, expound upon their backstory, have them as this group that we also follow. It's gonna, and then show like, hey, I feel like I had a lot taken away from me. I really want answers, and yada yada. Especially Gregor and Neuter having their talk, like, hey, are you happy? And you could have Neuter kind of come to the realization, like, you know what? It's been 2 years. I've been, living the life of the party, and I think I realized that I'm really depressed, and I want somebody to blame for all this. Like, I was trying to put on a happy face that everything was okay, and this was actually a benefit, when in reality, it's not, and I hate it.
Especially
kind of been living in denial in all this.
Yeah. Especially considering that Worm sort of is known for flawed and complex characters, right? Like that's the whole theme is like, hey, our heroes are kind of also bad guys. And so, it would fit really well to have, them kind of wrestle with this, where the audience has to also wrestle with it, well, murder's bad, but they did kind of ruin his life, and it's sympathetic, So I think all of that works. You can make that work pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do this whole time if we've been having conversations between Gregor and Neuter about what it is to be Case 53, and we come to this, this fork in the road, and one goes the opposite direction from the other. Pick or choose.
Yeah.
What happens when Gregor, the one that has been speaking wisdom and kind of been a little bit of a mentor when it comes to Case 53 stuff for Neuter, picks the option to, kill Dr. Mother, or, the flip side where Neuter's been following him this whole time, yeah, and decides, you know what, I'm not going to go with you down the pacifist route where we are fucking
Yeah.
Dr. Mother up. I don't need answers. I need revenge.
Right.
And I think that, it's a good conversation and a great lead into like some sort of fight or conflict of some kind.
It also feels natural, right? I mean, they are how we are introduced to Case 53s in Cauldron.
Yeah.
And so for them not to be there when all the answers are given would feel a little odd, I think. It's funny. It's funny. It's how it's one of those things where I didn't even think twice about it when I'm reading it. I didn't go, wait a minute, where's Neuter? But looking back at it, I'm like, wait a minute, why wasn't he there? Where's my boy? Definitely
Yeah.
one of those things that I think, again, we talk about simplification. We talk about kind of condensing characters and threads and things like that. I think that just kind of makes sense. But what does the audience think? What do fans think?
Mm-hmm.
Curious. That's an interesting one. I think it could work
Yeah.
pretty well.
Yeah. So I think that's a good one to a good line to follow in the background. You could actually fill, if you wanted to fill time, especially during the Jack sequence, and pad that for time. There's this is a good time to reintroduce the Irregulars and Fault Line's crew for,
Right.
3 episodes before we even get to Gold Morning.
Yeah.
If they have been gone for a while, this would be a great time to focus a lot more attention on them. To have Fault Line be like, "Hey guys, we've since we've teamed up with the Irregulars, since everything's come out, we have a lot more information to like. I feel like we are so close. We could jump Cauldron at any minute. What are we going to do when we get inside?" And some people are like, "Oh, I don't know." And she's like, and she's got to make the decision. Like, am I helping, my friend Gregor kill everybody in there? Like, what are we doing? Kind of.
Yeah.
What happens when the doors open and you are allowed to do, to make that decision?
Yeah. I like it. I think there's a lot to work with there. That's good stuff.
This episode of the Brockton Bay Book Club is sponsored by Maid Marian. Maid Marian creates custom cottagecore and Ren Fair clothing designed for every body. Whether you're looking for a lace-up bodice, rustic apron and pinafore, or ethereal dresses, you'll find items customized for every individual's fit and design. All items are lovingly hand-sewn with attention to detail and a touch of whimsy. Visit Maid Marian today and transform your wardrobe with clothing that feels as enchanting as it looks. Find Maid Marian on Etsy at themaidmarian.etsy.com.
My important question for this arc is, who the fuck do we cast as Gavel? My man.
I mean, there's an easy answer for this.
It's which WWE wrestler is ready for his big moment.
Oh, you were going to go WWE?
Yeah. Where were you going?
Oh, I was thinking freaking Hugh Jackman.
Okay, first, Hugh would kill it, for sure. But hilariously, I think he's too small.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The two others, John Cena would do obviously a great job.
The problem with Gavel is it's such a small moment. Like, it's equivalent of like, a minute and a half of total screen time. So if you were to go like huge celebrity casting for a quick buck, it would feel so out of place. But at the same time, it's what I want.
So Henry Cavill then.
Yeah. Henry Gavel, you mean?
Oh, wow. my backup all the time is Alan Richson.
Oh, freaking Reacher, right?
Yeah, or Aquaman in everything.
Oh.
He voices Aquaman.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, for a
that's
lot of
awesome.
DC property stuff.
Dude, he's huge.
I think he's only 6'2", but yeah, he is so broad shouldered. He looks about as wide as he is tall, which is kind of what makes him not seem as tall.
You know,
you're like
it's funny you mention
proportionally
him.
like he's like, set to 3-4 dimensions, and then you're like,
Yeah.
well, that's not that big, and then you realize like, oh, no, he's just that wide.
Man. Okay, well, we're stuck on fan casting. I almost want him like that's too small a role. He needs to be something else. But he would nail. He would be a perfect Gavel.
Yeah.
But I want him to do something more. He's a great actor. Anyway, fan casting aside, I do like that fight scene. I would want to keep it in for sure.
Oh yeah. Like I've said, I think leading up to this, we've had all the moments of leading up to what causes Taylor to make the decision to become Khepri. And I think, and actually on the flip side, having Golem discover Eve is actually probably a better choice, simply because having Taylor deal with the irregulars again, and the fact that like these are people who just won't cooperate, continues to hammer home the fact that she's about to make everyone cooperate. So maybe we have her deal with them simply for, her being present when Defiant, just having to, bitch at Saint for being a bitch, fight, the Yongbon, fight the elite, fight Teacher, have her be there for all of that, so she can get absolutely pissed at them and be like, you know what? If only all of you would cooperate, this wouldn't be a problem. Amy, hit it.
Anyway, here's Wonderwall.
Yeah, I was going to say, Amy, hit Capricito.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I think a lot of those subtle changes will work really well. You have to kind of retweak a few things, but nothing too consequential. The one thing I was thinking about was, I think it would be neat, and I'm trying to piece this together as we're speaking, but we've been doing a lot of these like flashback sequences in past seasons, where like maybe even an entire season has a little bit of a thread. The assault and battery interlude, things like that, kind of adding to the world building through these other characters' perspectives, which I feel like also kind of honors the interlude feel a bit, which is kind of fun.
I know where this is going.
If you might already pick up on it. I think it'd be neat to play against that. And instead of this flashback, we do sort of a alternate flash forward this season with Eden's paradise or / optimal future would be interesting. I don't think you could do it for a whole season, but I definitely like the idea of maybe faking out the audience a bit with her like her path to victory, essentially. I keep saying its path to victory. Yeah, I think that'd be really fun to play with, and then kind of reveal at the end, because the audience the whole time can kind of be going like, man, those voices sound familiar if they're all like masked up and stuff,
Yeah.
What's going on? And then like slowly reveal at the end that, oh, we're not where you think we are. Be just kind of fun.
I mean, I like throwing essentially the entire Fortuna interlude at the beginning of the episodes.
If you want to do the whole interlude, with, I see what you're saying. Do the whole.
So here's what you do. Number one, you exchange. I'm trying to think about how much we've seen of the entities.
Yeah.
At this point in time, because I believe
we've gotten the reader. We've gotten obviously.
The whole interlude explaining that, but as outside of interludes, I should say, like within for Taylor, has Taylor seen yet? And I thought that happened somewhere here. I'm trying to remember. I could have sworn they have it happened specifically with the King of Cups, and that's when they all see Sion's true form in the vision with the worm. But and Lisa's the one that kind of facilitates that as well, I thought. Or does something there.
Yeah. Well, we had talked, and maybe we'll kind of come back to this, I guess. We had talked a bit about maybe giving a little bit of this plot thread to Lisa and having her be able to kind of continue her interlude from Leviathan's fight, where she's able to slowly sort of piece together what the Endbringers are. It kind of makes sense. I know that she's kind of the cop-out exposition dump answer, but it also just works really well with how her power works, that she could sort of piece together the truth about what Sion is, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I think putting the interlude, you could start with, instead of doing the crash straight up as a worm, like as the entities, what you do is you do it from Contessa's point of view. That it's her maybe like walking in, an empty, the all white room kind of thing. And she's like walking with someone, talking to them, all stand-ins for the entities. And she's like carrying stuff, literally shards in her hands or something like that. And she's got her golden shard. And then another, person bumps into them, essentially knocks the shard loose. It scatters across the ground, and like baby her picks it up. And that leaves everybody going like, what the hell is this? And you essentially have that all just be the metaphor for what the entities have happened with them. And then you cut, eventually the next episode would be her waking up in the night, seeing the golden light, all that. She goes out, she kills the monster, the founding of Cauldron. And then right about the time that we open the bunker to show off how they make the stuff, like that kind of coincides with like, oh, well, we know she killed that thing, whatever the hell it was. We know that she became Contessa because now she has whatever that thing is, and that she founded Cauldron. And then, we get they open the vault and there's Eve. Like, oh yeah, no, we did more than just kill it. We harvested it.
Yeah. I mean, because that's kind of the big reveal, is not so much that an entity died or something like that, but it's that Cauldron founded and that's how it's been creating powers. So yeah, I mean, I like that a lot. I think it would be very tricky. We'd have to really sit down and figure out how that plays out beat for beat. But I think that could work really, really well. I like the idea of Contessa being the guide for that. That'd be cool. Space it out for the whole season.
Yeah. I think there's a lot running around the Cauldron thing that we could slim down. I don't think we need to have the whole like hiding in the cells too much. There was a lot of doing that, and I think we could just kind of go through some talking, maybe a little bit of hiding, and then straight into a fight.
I I think we adjust. Yeah, I'm with you there. I think we adjust some of that. I think we also adjust their escape at the end too. I don't like the idea. Again, works in the serial for adaptation purposes. I don't like the idea of there being a Siberian clone here, or a Manton clone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think would just be a little, just a little too much. There's just so many clones and so many, it's stuff to keep track of. And wait, why is he helping? It's a lot, Same with all the harbingers. So you'd have to kind of, I would probably want to just rework their escape a bit. Try to figure that out.
Yeah.
What about our boy Satyr?
I mean, I think maybe we tone down the power. I don't like his clone power, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And while that, this is just a personal note, I think it would be visually not that hard to explain, but I think for literally 15 seconds simplicity, we just have the two people guarding the cave, doing their thing, and somebody come in and be like, yo, what the heck are they're supposed, they are classic shifty people. What are they doing in that cave? And they're like, oh, they're just waiting on the rest of their group. And they're like, well, it's weird that we think there's a cauldron portal in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then they, deal with the two there. And then Satyr is somewhere hiding with the irregulars, they're pretty sure. And eventually him and his group break off because they know how to get to Dr. Mother somehow.
Right.
And so that's also where Taylor and Gollum have to split up.
Yeah. I mean, that works. Simple enough. And there's not much to really talk about with Scion's arrival, other than to say, I love it. It's terrifying. And we should give him his hallway scene that everybody seems to love these days. Just picturing like the Darth Vader scene at the end of Rogue One, but with Scion and a bunch of parahumans.
Oh, how unfortunate.
Just wrong place, wrong time, my friend. But that'd be a great scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about the rating, but obviously this is a TVMA R rating. I don't think you can do Worm with anything other than that.
I mean, I could think of some creative ways to do a lot of it. Honestly, if we were putting the limitation on ourselves to be like, we can't do anything that like Justice League Unlimited hasn't already done, then yeah, I could see us doing a lot of stuff, editing things down if we needed to for a animated, some
you could.
not mature.
It's funny, if it's animated, I think you could actually get away with a lot more and keep a lower rating.
Yeah. Because if you do it when it's live action, it kind of feels fakey.
Yeah.
But if you do it animated, it actually feels maybe more serious because it should be in feels like the more tame format.
Yeah, it's weird how that works, isn't it? Like, I mean, what's it? Invincible, violent as hell. And yet, as grotesque as it gets sometimes, it's just not as bad as watching, like to me, it's less violent than watching John Wick, which is weird because if you flip those and John Wick was animated and Invincible was live action, it'd be the goriest thing ever put to screen.
Yeah. It'd be The Boys.
Yeah, it would. It would be probably worse than The Boys. Yeah, funny how we view that. No, if you're going animated, I think you could get away with a lot. You could move stuff around quite a bit. You wouldn't have to go like super super hardcore, but you could get away with a lot more. I think the big things is just either way, regardless of how much you like quote unquote show or hide, you would still have to heavily imply quite a bit of death and pain and sadness. Like you can't do the Leviathan fight or the Behemoth fight and not show anyone dying and then being like, it's the hero killer. You know, you didn't get anyone this time, but he's tricky, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the arc here? We've got any thoughts on Dr. Mother or Eden or anything like that?
Yeah.
I do like I mentioned this a bit in the book club, but I think it'd be a lot of fun to sit down with a really good director and like little things like trying to plan out how Eden looks, right? How it occupies the underground warehouse. Things like that would really fun to try to just think through and sketch out and see sort of come to life. Because what a really bizarre, ethereal, sublime image.
Yeah,
Be fun. Well, I don't have too much more here. I know we've got one arc to go, and I think I don't know what you guys think. I think we might need like a cool down episode before the recap, maybe after the recap, kind of just piecing everything together. I don't know how long that's going to take us, but there's a few more pieces of the puzzle here before we do any sort of like bookend first draft. Go back and take a look at the whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, as always, let us know what you think. Those of you who are listening, we thank you so much. It's a lot of fun. We are right at the finish line. It is just around the corner. And then we would, after that, we're going to have a rough draft of a first draft of a potential script or a potential spinoff television series adaptation. Look at how long it takes. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of fun thoughts here that we've kind of talked about, ways of kind of moving this arc around, moving some pieces around, putting the season together a bit here. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? We'd love to hear your thoughts and perspectives. What do you think works? And who's your fan cast for Gavel? Let me know in the comments. Curious. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. And if you want to interact with us on a more personal level, consider joining our Patreon. Our patrons have access to our exclusive Discord, where we share thoughts, ideas, reactions, memes, other videos that you all don't get to see, that only the patrons get to see, of us talking about all sorts of fun worm things and non-worm things. So head on over. Give it a shot. All are welcome. Alan, Michael, as always, thank you for joining me on this lovely journey. We've got one arc to go.
Woo.
And until next time, take that, you worms.
Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.